My name is Lena. I am 28 years old. I was 7. My life changed forever. It was a rainy day. My parents and I were in the car. We were driving home after visiting Grandma. The roads were wet. The rain was heavy. I sat in the back seat, holding my stuffed bear. I remember the sound of the thunder. I remember my mom turning to smile at me. And then everything went dark. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My arm was broken. My head hurt. A nurse was sitting beside me. She looked kind. Her voice was soft. "Hi, sweet girl," she said. "Your name is Lena, right?" I nodded slowly. She held my hand. "I'm sorry, Lena. Your mom and dad, they didn't survive the crash." I didn't understand at first. I waited for them to walk into the room. I thought maybe it was a mistake, but they never came. After a few days, a woman came to pick me up. Her name was Aunt Carol. She was my dad's cousin. I had only seen her once at a wedding. She looked strict. She didn't hug me. She didn't smile. She only said, "Come on, let's go." I got into her small car. Her husband, Tom, was driving. He didn't speak to me. I sat in the back, holding my bag and my bear. The car was cold and quiet. When we reached their house, I looked around. It was small but nice. Clean floors, pictures on the wall, toys on the shelf. I saw 2 children playing inside. A boy and a girl, maybe around my age. They were laughing. When they saw me, they stopped. "Who's she?" the boy asked. "She's staying with us now," Aunt Carol said. "Go inside." That night, I didn't sleep in a bedroom. Aunt Carol gave me a thin mat and a small blanket. "You'll sleep here," she said. It was the kitchen floor, next to the stove. I looked at her. "Can I sleep in the room with them?" She shook her head. "No. This is fine. You'll be safe here." She turned off the light and left. I lay down. The floor was hard. I hugged my bear and cried quietly. Nobody heard me. From that day, I became the other child in the house. I wasn't treated like family. I wasn't treated with love. In the mornings, I ate what was left on their plates. Sometimes cold rice, sometimes just bread crust. My cousins had eggs, pancakes, and warm milk. I had water and silence. At school, I was quiet. I didn't talk much. I didn't have pretty clothes like the other girls. My shoes were old. My books were second-hand. I tried to smile, but it was hard. One afternoon, I sat alone on the playground. I watched the other kids play. Then someone sat next to me. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. I looked up. It was the school janitor. Her name was Rosa. She had short gray hair and a soft voice. She smelled like soap and flowers. "Why are you sitting alone?" she asked. "I don't have anyone to play with," I said. She looked at me kindly. "Would you like a book?" I nodded. She reached into her bag and gave me a small storybook. The cover was torn, but I held it like it was gold. "You can keep it," she said. "And if you want more, come see me after school." From that day, Rosa became my secret friend. She gave me books, old ones from the Lost and Found, stories about animals, kind people, magic, and dreams. I read them at night under the kitchen table, using a small flashlight I found in the shed. Books became my world. At home, my cousins teased me. "Lena lives in the kitchen," they said. "She smells like soup." "She's not really family." I said nothing. I just listened. And then I went back to my stories. Because in those books, I was not small. I was brave. I was seen. I was loved. One day at school, our teacher said, "There is a storytelling contest next week. Anyone who wants to join can sign up." I thought about it all day. That night, I wrote my story under the table. It was about a girl who could talk to birds. She was lonely, but the birds gave her hope. I wrote it with an old pencil on paper I found in the recycling bin. When I showed it to my teacher, she smiled. "This is beautiful, Lena." I didn't tell anyone at home. I knew they wouldn't care. The day of the contest came. I stood in front of the class, holding my paper. My hands shook. But when I started reading, something happened. Everyone was quiet. They listened. Even the loud boys stopped talking. My voice got stronger. After I finished, the teacher clapped. "Lena," she said, "you win." I couldn't believe it. Rosa gave me a big hug after school. "I knew you had a gift," she whispered. But at home, nobody said anything. Aunt Carol didn't ask. My cousins rolled their eyes. "She thinks she's special now," the girl said. That night, I went to sleep on the kitchen floor, but I held my small prize in my hand, a notebook with a golden cover. It was the best gift I had ever received. When I turned 13, I started cleaning houses after school. I used the money to buy pencils, soap, and sometimes a small chocolate bar. I kept my things hidden under the stove. One summer, Rosa invited me to help at a community health camp. She said I could hand out water and guide people. At the camp, I watched the nurses. They were kind. They helped children wash their hands. They gave medicine to old women. They smiled even when they were tired. That day, I felt something in my heart. A small voice said, "This is what you should do. Help others. Be kind. Make someone feel seen." I didn't tell anyone. I kept my dream inside. But from that day, I knew. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. After that summer at the health camp, something changed in me. I still slept on the kitchen floor. I still ate leftovers. My cousins still mocked me. But I had a dream now. I wanted to help children. I wanted to be someone who cared, the way no one had cared for me. At school, I worked harder. I always finished my homework. I read books in the library during lunch. I cleaned neighbors' houses after school to buy pens, notebooks, and small things like toothpaste and soap. Sometimes I passed by the big houses where rich families lived. I looked through the windows and saw happy children with warm food and soft beds. My chest felt heavy, but I never let myself cry. Instead, I whispered to myself, one day I will have my own home. One day I will feel safe. One evening, I came home after helping a neighbor clean her garden. I was tired and dusty. My hands were scratched. My shirt had a small tear. I opened the door. My cousins were sitting on the couch, watching cartoons. Aunt Carol looked up. "You're late," she said. "Go wash the dishes." I walked to the sink. My feet hurt. My back hurt. But I said nothing. I washed every plate, spoon, and glass. When I finished, I sat quietly on the floor beside the stove. I opened one of my books and started reading. Then suddenly, my cousin came into the kitchen. She was holding my school notebook. "Looking for this?" she asked, smirking. I stood up. "Give it back!" She laughed. "You think you're better than us? You think you're special because of your stories?" "Please," I said, trying to take it from her. She stepped back, pulled out a pen, and scribbled all over the pages. My neat handwriting disappeared under her black ink. I froze. My legs felt weak. She threw the notebook on the floor and walked out. I picked it up slowly. My story was ruined. My homework was ruined. I pressed the notebook to my chest and sat back down. I didn't cry. I just closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The next day, I stayed behind at school and told my teacher I had lost my homework. She looked at me and said gently, "Lena, If something is wrong at home, you can tell me. But I didn't tell her. I was scared. I was alone. At 16, I started volunteering at a small youth shelter in town. Rosa introduced me to the lady who ran it, Miss Helen. She was tall, with white hair and a serious face. But when she smiled, it was kind. "Why do you want to help here?" she asked me on the first day. I thought for a moment. "Because I know how it feels to be forgotten," I said quietly. She looked at me for a long time. Then she nodded. "All right, come every weekend. Help with cleaning and read to the small kids." I loved every minute of it. There were children who were sick, scared, or had no families. Some were quiet, like me. Some were loud and angry, but they all needed love. I read them stories. I helped them draw. I gave them hugs when they cried. One little boy, Max, followed me around every weekend. He had big eyes and dirty hands. "Lena, will you come back next Saturday?" he always asked. "Yes," I always said. "I will be here." Every time I walked back to my aunt's house, I felt stronger. I felt like I had a reason to keep going. When I turned 17, I heard about a community college scholarship. It was for students who wanted to study social work or child care. The form asked for grades, teacher recommendations, and an essay. I worked on the essay for 2 weeks. I wrote it under the table at night. I borrowed a dictionary from Rosa and looked up words I didn't know. My topic was, why every child deserves love. I didn't tell my aunt. I didn't tell anyone. I just sent the form by mail. Then I waited. 2 months later, a letter arrived at school. My teacher handed it to me with a small smile. "Good luck, Lena," she said. My hand shook as I opened it. I had won the scholarship. I sat on the steps outside school and stared at the paper. I couldn't believe it. Someone believed in me. Someone thought I deserved a chance. That evening, I went home and told Aunt Carol. She looked surprised. "A scholarship?" she said. "Yes, I said. "I want to study child care. I want to become a social worker." She didn't smile. "Who will do the dishes? Who will take out the trash?" I looked down. "I won't be here much longer." She said nothing. A week later, I packed my things. Just 2 shirts, my notebook, my toothbrush, and my bear. Rosa gave me an old backpack. Miss Helen gave me a new jacket. "You're going to be all right," she said. I took the train to the city. It was the first time I traveled alone. I looked out the window and whispered, "Thank you." The city was loud and busy. I stayed in a student hostel. I shared a room with 3 other girls. I studied all day and worked at a nearby food stall at night. Some nights, I came back so tired I fell asleep in my clothes. But I never complained. I was finally building my own life. During the second year of college, I joined a program that trained young women in first aid and basic health care. I learned how to clean wounds, treat small cuts, and comfort scared children. I went to small villages and helped mothers understand how to keep their babies healthy. One afternoon, after giving a health lesson, a small girl came to me and held my hand. "Miss, can I stay with you?" she asked. I smiled. "Why, sweetie?" She looked down. "Because you're kind." My throat felt tight. I bent down and hugged her gently. At that moment, I knew something very important. I didn't just want to help children. I wanted to give them a safe place, a home, even just a small room where they could feel loved. That night, I sat at my desk and wrote a dream on a piece of paper. One day, I will open a center for children who feel like I once did, small, unwanted, and lost. I will show them they matter. I folded the paper and put it in my old bear's pocket. My dream was now real. 3 years passed. I finished college. I passed every exam. I earned my license as a child care worker. I even gave a small speech at graduation. I stood on a stage, in a simple dress, with a shaky voice and a full heart. "My name is Lena," I said. I didn't grow up with much, but I always believed that love can heal. And now, I want to give that love to others. After graduation, I found a job with a small organization that helped children in poor areas. We gave food, lessons, and health help. I traveled to villages and towns. I visited schools and shelters. I worked with teachers and nurses. I felt proud. But something inside me still whispered, "This isn't enough." I remembered Max. I remembered the little girl who asked to stay with me. I remembered the child I once was, small, silent, sleeping near a stove. So one day, I sat down and wrote a plan. I called it The Little Lighthouse. It would be a small place, just 2 rooms, one for sleeping, one for learning and playing. It would be open every afternoon. It would give warm milk, simple food, clean clothes, and most of all, kindness. I shared my idea with my old teacher. She cried and hugged me. I shared it with Rosa. She smiled and gave me her old sewing machine. I spoke to Miss Helen. She said, "Let's find a space." We found an empty room in a small building near a school. The roof leaked. The floor was cracked, but the walls were strong. I painted it with help from other volunteers. We added books, soft mats, a small shelf of toys. Someone donated a heater. Someone else brought cups and spoons. We opened the doors on a Sunday morning. The first visitor was a boy with no shoes. He didn't speak, but he drank 2 cups of milk and sat in the corner with a puzzle. Then came a girl with bruises on her arms. She said she liked stories. I read her one about a brave cat. That evening, I sat alone on the floor. My legs were tired. My back ached. But I smiled. The little lighthouse was real. More children came the next week. Some were quiet. Some were angry. But after some time, they all laughed, played, and rested. Some called me Miss. Some called me Sister. One boy called me Mama by mistake, then quickly looked away. I didn't correct him. I just hugged him. One day, a young man came to the door. He wore a simple shirt, had kind eyes, and carried a small box of crayons and notebooks. "Hi," he said. "I'm Leo. I heard about this place. Can I help?" I looked at him carefully. "Do you know how to listen?" I asked. He smiled. "Yes, I can listen." So he stayed. Leo helped with the older kids. He taught math. He cleaned up after snack time. He never raised his voice. He always waited for a child to speak first. Sometimes we sat in the quiet room after the children left. "You built something beautiful," he said one day. "It's small," I replied. "Just a room." He shook his head. "No. It's a place where children feel safe. That's not small." We worked together for months. Slowly, gently, we became friends. Then something more. One evening, after the last child left, he gave me a small note. It said, "You made a place for others, but I hope you know you deserve a home too." I didn't answer right away. I was afraid. Love had never stayed in my life before. But Leo waited. He never pushed. And one day, I told him the truth about my parents, about Aunt Carol, about the kitchen floor. He listened quietly. Then he said, "You were never weak. You were always strong." Years passed. The lighthouse grew. We added another room. We started a weekend program for teen girls. We gave them books, lessons, and self-care tips. Sometimes I sat by the door and watched the children draw and laugh. One girl drew a house with a sun above it. She wrote "home" on the roof. She gave it to me. "For you," she said, "because this place is my safe place." I looked at the paper for a long time. Later, I put it on the wall. One night, Leo and I walked by the river near town. The sky was dark blue. The air was quiet. He stopped and looked at me. "Lena," he said, "you were always looking for home. I know that. But maybe now you can let someone be yours." I didn't say anything at first. I just took his hand. That was my answer. I still visit Rosa sometimes. She's older now. Her hands shake, but her smile is the same. "You made it," she says every time. "No," I tell her. "We made it. You were my first light. When I was 7, I lost everything. When I was 17, I chose to dream. And now, at 28, I give children what I once needed. Not money, not fancy clothes, but something more powerful. A voice that says, 'You matter.' A hand that says, 'I see you.' A room that says, 'You are home.' We all go through hard times, but stories like this can help us feel seen. Thank you for watching, and come back for more real moments.